Mystical hieroglyphs, mighty pyramids, imposing statues. Although the era of ancient Egypt dates back many centuries, the inhabitants of the legendary kingdoms of the pharaohs still have an unbroken appeal for us today. The great mysteries that still need to be solved in this regard are just as exciting as the knowledge that we've already been able to gather about everyday life in ancient Egypt. What undiscovered mysteries still lie dormant in the world-renowned necropolis of SAQQARA? What is it about the magnificent, long-lost Golden City? The sensational discoveries that archaeologists keep making in Egypt allow us to take a direct look into days long past and solve some of these fascinating historical mysteries. Dive into the world of the ancient Egyptians with us and take a look for yourself at the photos of these mystical artifacts and ruins that have successfully resisted the gnawing ravages of time. But before we get started, be sure to hit that like button and ring the notification bell to keep up to date with our future videos. Also, stick around until the end to learn about one of the strangest things ever discovered by archaeologists in one of these long-forgotten cities. Lost Golden City. If we turn back the wheel of time by around 3,400 years, we find ourselves in an epoch that still puzzles experts to this day. At that time, the pharaoh Akhenaten decided to give up his religion and the former capital in Thebes in order to found the city of Akhenaten and become the city's ruler. There, he ruled together with his wife Nefertiti and founded a mysterious sun cult. But what motives could have led the pharaoh to take such a drastic step? The answer to this riddle may be hidden in the ruins of the legendary Golden City, which were rediscovered in September 2020. In light of the astonishingly good state of preservation in which the remains of the magnificent village were found, the entire professional world went into a frenzy upon this discovery. In fact, experts have called the discovery of the city ruins the biggest sensation since the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb. In detail, the Golden City was built during the reign of Akhenaten's father, Amenhotep III. That epoch describes a chapter in which ancient Egypt was in a real heyday. This was a time of extraordinary luxury, wealth, and power. Although the investigation of the site is still in full swing, researchers have already unearthed some incredible artifacts. Jewelry, amulets, ceramics, and countless everyday objects give a foreshadowing of the priceless treasures that may yet lie within the remains of the Golden City. But the buildings also give us an authentic insight into everyday life at the time. According to this, the archaeologists have already found houses that may have once been occupied by workers, a kitchen, a bakery, administration buildings, and even a burial ground with burial chambers carved directly into the rock. After Akhenaten had turned his back on the flourishing town, for whatever reason, the Golden City later seemed to have been used again by Tutankhamun at some point during history. The subsequent ruler must have valued the city, which represented the prosperity of his empire so well. In fact, some findings suggest that the town was inhabited until the 7th century AD. The city was then left to its own devices for many centuries before it recently saw the light of day again. Huge ancient statue. A few years ago, a team of German and Egyptian archaeologists in Cairo made a discovery that was as unexpected as it was impressive. The workers there came across the parts of an imposing 8-meter-long statue, which, covered with mud, had previously eluded the curious gaze of modern times for many centuries. In detail, the oversized structure, believed to represent Ramses II, was recovered in the former Heliopolis. In the ritual beliefs of the ancient Egyptians, this ancient site had an incomparable place. Thus, the inhabitants of the pharaonic kingdoms were convinced that this was the place where the world had once begun many years ago. In addition, the mythological court of justice of the sun god should have been located here. But Ramses II, in whose honor the massive statue is believed to have been created, also played an inviolable role in the rise of ancient Egypt. During his 66-year reign, which still makes the venerable pharaoh one of the longest-serving heads of state in the world, Egypt experienced an unprecedented cultural and economic heyday that no subsequent ruler was ever to match. In addition to the fragments of the 8-meter-long quartzite statue, the archaeologists also discovered the remains of a life-size limestone statue which probably depicts Pharaoh Seti II, grandson of Ramses II. Giant ram's heads. The recent discovery of 3 giant ram's heads near the Temple of Karnak in Luxor showed researchers just how adept the ancients really were at the intricate creation of their objects. The oldest remains of this sacred site date back to the 12th dynasty. This era, also referred to as the Middle Kingdom, existed between the years 2137 and 1781 BC. The Karnak Temple was originally dedicated primarily to Amun-Re, who enjoyed a special position within ancient Egyptian religion as the god of sun, wind, and fertility. However, the temple complex was to be constantly expanded and rebuilt well into the Roman Empire. The ram heads found a few months ago were likely created by the Ptolemies. These were the members of the Macedonian Greek dynasty that ruled over Egypt and many other areas for almost 300 years. While archaeologists only came across the massive ram's heads during their excavations, the stone skulls were once part of much larger statues, which were designed to resemble the world-famous Sphinx. The huge figures once adorned a magnificent avenue, which was made up of around 700 figures and connected the Karnak Temple with the Luxor Temple complex. The experts' plans envisage carefully restoring the ram's heads and then placing them on appropriate bodies. A few days after this breathtaking find, the archaeologists had the next sensation: the discovery of a cobra statue that was probably once on one of the ram's heads. Treasures from the past. Thonis was once Egypt's most important seaport after Greece. Today, however, there's no trace of the once vibrant trading center because Thonis actually finally went under as a result of several catastrophes in the 8th century AD. The fact that the ancient Egyptian seaport is now 10 meters below sea level shows that this term of sinking, which is often used as a metaphor, can be taken literally in this case. In detail, the exact location of Thonis was uncertain for many centuries. It wasn't until 2000 that experts were able to locate the ruins in the Bay of Abu Qir. So it was that the rediscovery of Thonis was the starting signal for comprehensive archaeological investigations and salvage work. The first sensational report was the realization that the Egyptian Thonis and the Greek Heraklion were one and the same city. After many valuable artifacts had already been recovered from the sunken port city, which once stretched across several islands, the researchers achieved the next archaeological sensation a few months ago. As part of their work, the experts discovered the remains of an ancient Greek burial mound. Particularly noteworthy was the fact that many remains of burnt material were found around the 60-meter-long burial mound. From this, the experts derived the conclusion that this place must have once served as the setting for many spectacular ceremonies. This is also indicated by the magnificent offerings that were recovered in the immediate vicinity of the site. In addition to the precious, luxurious ceramics, it was above all a few wicker baskets that immediately fascinated the archaeologists. In fact, despite being 2,400 years old, the baskets still contained grape seeds and the remains of the fruits of the dome palm. These unique artifacts leave no doubt that over time more and more Greeks settled in Thonis and started building their own places of worship. Sensational finds in SAQQARA. If we look at the everyday life of the ancient Egyptians, one central aspect must not be neglected: the pronounced burial cult of the inhabitants of the pharaonic kingdom. Hardly any other site is as representative as the ancient necropolis of SAQQARA when it comes to gaining an authentic insight into the elaborate burial rites of important ancient Egyptian personalities. According to this, the famous UNESCO World Heritage Site houses, among other things, the oldest pyramid in the world, the Djoser Pyramid. Even today, new secrets are regularly salvaged from the tombs of the necropolis. One of the most groundbreaking finds in recent history was the discovery of the tomb of a queen who died around 4,200 years ago. For a long time, however, experts could only speculate about the true identity of the ruler. But a few months ago, the breakthrough finally came. The researchers discovered the name of the queen carved on a wall of the mortuary temple. So we now know that this is Nate, the wife of Pharaoh Teti. The fact that the experts had never heard of this name before reminds us of the importance of such discoveries for general history. No less spectacular was the recent find of 50 wooden sarcophagi and the discovery of a large limestone sarcophagus. SAQQARA's archaeological treasures also include a mysterious papyrus scroll that explains in detail how the soul of a deceased person can reach the afterlife. Light bulbs from DENDERA. We can all understand that the ancient Egyptians didn't have the means of writing down history the same way that we do today. Because of this, most of the information about their culture and daily lives have been lost to time. However, it seems as though the Egyptians wanted to do everything within their power to ensure that their history would live on for as long as possible. To do this, they developed a complicated writing system that used images of common objects, such as birds and other animals, to document their history. These days, the writing style is referred to as hieroglyphics, and we've come a long way in understanding how this writing system works and have uncovered many stories that the writings relay. Though one of the most interesting stories to have been shared through hieroglyphics seems to show an ancient version of a light bulb that has, to this day, remained largely unsolved. The problem with images like this is that, as far as we know, the Egyptians would have had no reasonable way to create a rudimentary version of the modern light bulb, though by all means, the images and carvings that we have access to seem to show in perfect detail a depiction of a modern bulb. This has led some people to believe that otherworldly beings must have visited the ancient Egyptians and given them access to modern technology. These theories have been furthered by other drawings and historical documents that speak of gods and goddesses that may have once commingled with humanity. As far as we can tell, there's no definitive evidence of these, and many of these stories seem to be nothing more than hearsay. But we can't be so sure. This is because, according to researchers, the temple in which these carvings were found showed no evidence of soot on the walls or ceiling. This means that torches would not have been used in this area, or if they were, they would not have been used very frequently. So, if this is the case, how would visitors have been able to see the rooms surrounding them unless they had access to some alternative form of light, possibly a light bulb? For now, we don't know for sure what these drawings could mean. After all, the drawings could depict an everyday object that would have been very common during ancient Egyptian times. In the years since, this object could have been lost to history and may have merely resembled a light bulb rather than being a viable light source for the Egyptians. Hopefully, as time passes on, we'll learn more about these drawings and what they truly predict. Though, for the moment, we can't help but wonder if the ancient Egyptians may have had access to some ancient version of the modern light bulb. Alright folks, now it's your turn. Which find from legendary ancient Egypt fascinated you the most? We're already looking forward to your comments. If you enjoyed our look into the world of exciting archaeological discoveries, please give us a thumbs up. Also, while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell to stay up to date. Finally, feel free to take a look at the other exciting videos of our channel, which you can access by clicking on one of the pictures in the credits. Thank you for watching. Have a good one, and see you next time.